Horticultural
This
Enterprises.
meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. Recently set up in Horticultural Enterprises, and we want to try and get through how it's gone for them, what they've learned, and what they're going to do in the future, and just work our way through, really. So Rob and Rachel are on first. They've got a pick your own farm in Cowbridge area, and presumably you can do your own introductions, are you?
Can do, yeah. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Rob. It's my wife Rachel, and Kath, her sister, who's just started working with us recently as well. We were predominantly a beef suckler farm up until sort of 18 months ago, and with the sort of downturns in beef prices and increased red tape and TB testing and all the other difficulties within the industry, we thought we needed to sort of bolster the business with a bit of a extra income, really, and look at a different sort of revenue stream. Yeah, it was getting, like I said, a bit more difficult to do the sums with the beef side of it, and we bought quite a bit of land. We're sort of first generation farmers in a way. And Dad had a bit of a small holding, and we started the farm from that point. But yeah, we sort of bought land and built a house as well, which we were lucky enough to do. And from that, really, we were in quite a good location on the side of a main road, but with quite heavy borrowings. We were just a bit concerned with a few things going wrong in the beef industry that could cause us to lose a lot, really. So yeah, we sort of looked down the line of the pick your own to make the most of the location. And Tyfu Cymru were holding an open day down in the Gower with a strawberry grower down there who had first year to just set up. But we went down to look at that and thought we were in equally as good a position. So yeah, we sort of looked further into it, which was the first year was 2018. 19, was it?
What first year?
When we went to see the Gower.
Yeah, it would have been
19, yeah. And then, yeah, we did a bit of research and we're hoping to open up basically the first year that coronavirus kicked off.
2020.
In 2020. So that sort of held back plans with the strawberries and the pick your own side of it. But that year we planted first year of pumpkins. And yeah, we grew that, and that worked quite well. Spent a lot of time hoeing them and working hard to get a nice clean crop. But yeah, that worked well and gave us the confidence then to sort of invest and push on with the strawberries then the following year. So we had our first year last summer, then growing 2.5 acres worth of strawberries. So and again, yeah, that worked well. And yeah, it's just been a lot of work and yeah, that's
about it.
That's about it, really. Yeah. from the background point of view.
Yeah, you were lucky to drop on some second-hand tunnels, weren't you?
Yeah, there's a pick your own farm nearby us that sort of closed down about 3 years ago. So we were lucky enough to buy all their old equipment to set up. So yeah, we got 7 polytunnels that we managed to buy off them, and all their old irrigation equipment as well. Some of it we used, some of it we didn't. So yeah, that was a lucky start as well, and saved us a fair bit of money. So yeah, it was again making the most of the fact that they'd shut down, and they always got on well in the area, and there was sort of a gap in the market as well, which was quite useful. And that's aided to us sort of stepping in their shoes where they were, really.
Yeah. So how's it gone then? Do you think it's been a good venture, or I mean, what made you sort of lean towards fruit in the first place, or did you look at other enterprises like chickens and pigs and all that sort of stuff, or not?
We didn't look down that side of it. Again, your chickens and pigs and stuff. You're in the livestock game, and you're sort of price takers, really, of whatever the market holds. Where we sort of wanted to be able to determine the price that we were selling stuff for. So that's why we went down the pick your own route, and again, just to make the most of our location right by the main road.
What about planning then? You had a few issues with planning when you were first getting going.
Yeah, councils are no help, put it that way. Yeah, there was had to jump through numerous hoops, and to the point of last year we opened up and we still didn't have the planning for the polytunnels, so we had all the hoops up, but we didn't actually skin them. And the planning permission actually came through 2 weeks from the end of the season, basically. But yeah, some of it they were helpful with, but a lot of it was just quite difficult because they just got no idea of timelines. It doesn't matter with them how long things take. So.
Well, they weren't dead against it. They just needed to get a bit of confidence in you as a farmer. What was it?
Yeah, they weren't against it. They just, I don't know, with coronavirus, it was a perfect excuse for everything to go slow, I think. So it took about 18 months for the planning, and it did cost a lot more than we were wanting to spend or expecting to spend. But yeah, they weren't against it. I think that the area with us, with the Vale of Glamorgan, there isn't really much tourism and stuff. And I don't know why that's because the council make it so difficult.
I don't think they knew what to do. I don't think they knew how to deal with us, really. That's the impression I got.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. But they were difficult.
Some areas just don't like tunnels, but you didn't find that.
Yeah, it wasn't the tunnels, it was just the whole combined thing with coming off a main road, which made a bit of hassle, which is fair enough. That needed to be safe and done right.
And the cafe as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little cafe hut that we built as well. But they were in favour of all that. Like I say, they were in favour. Just the timelines that they worked to was just not realistic, really.
So in 2020, you started with just pumpkins?
Yeah, we did 10 acres of pumpkins first year. And then
9 days.
9 days we'd open for, and then they closed us down with a lockdown in Wales. And then we managed to, through Chris, get a few contacts to sell them wholesale. So the first year was a bit of an eye-opener. Yeah, 9 days to the public, which we sold about half the pumpkins, and the second half then we had to pick ourselves, and we sold them wholesale then up to Kent. But yeah, that worked all right. It gave us an idea of the wholesale industry then as well.
So 10 acres is a big field to start off with, isn't it? You had some commitment to it.
Yeah, I didn't. Well,
you don't do things by half.
Speaking to yourself, Chris, and other people, you mentioned a few people that had done a couple of acres and then they'd sold out pretty sharpish, and I didn't want to be in that situation. So yeah, we just sort of it lended itself. We had a field that had sort of didn't have a very good grass crop on it because it had washed away due to the previous year. So it sort of lent itself to using that 10 acres to grow the first crop, really.
Yeah. So if you were starting again now, what would you do different, if anything?
That's a difficult one, really. There's a lot we got wrong, but you sort of learn by your mistakes in a way, but nothing in particular. It's just lots of difficulties along the way, mostly with, like say, with council and highways and stuff like that was the difficult side of it.
Put planning in earlier then, maybe.
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I can't really answer that one. Sorry, Chris.
That's all right. It's, it's you often think if you've made a mistake, you could share that and other people would avoid it, but I don't think you did anything badly wrong.
Yeah, keep a closer eye on the strawberries in a hot spell. That would probably be the main bit. Yeah. I nearly lost the whole crop by being too busy making hay, and took our eye off the strawberries for a couple of days, and they literally dried out overnight, and that nearly cost us. But
so did you cut back on your other enterprises then, on your beef?
It did cost a lot of money to do the strawberries particularly. So yeah, we did cut back on the beef and sold a lot of cattle to help set up the pick your own side. So yeah, we have cut back, but that was our intention as well, because we were all rented land all over the place with 3 different farms, and I just spent my life running around the roads, running around different farms really, and it wasn't stacking up with lifestyle balance or finances. We knew something needed to change, so that was always on the cards to cut back a bit.
So what lifestyle balance was? What, you just weren't spending any time with the family because you're busy farming? Yeah, pretty much. I just wasn't seeing the kids, and Rach was full-time working for the FUW and basically a single mother for quite a bit of the time. I was just running around like an idiot, but
So yeah,
now you've got a fair bit of family commitment to the business as well. So is that working okay?
Yeah, it's going really good, to be honest with you. And yeah, everyone, we're lucky that everyone mucks in and helps out when we need to, whether it's planting strawberries or at the minute we're pulling strawberries. So Rachel's mum and dad are up here a lot and they help out with the kids. And then Kath, Rachel's sister's obviously working with us now because it sort of with pumpkins particularly, got a bit too much for us just to cope with and with the rest of the farm. So yeah, Kath's been with us ever since. So.
Thank God.
Yeah.
There's a couple of questions coming through on the chat. I don't know whether.
Yeah.
Planning for the polytunnel.
Oh yeah. Well, we needed planning. It was certain counties are different. I think some of them would and some of them wouldn't. But we originally put in planning for the shop, the car park, and the polytunnels. Sorry, the cafe. The polytunnels and the car park, and it was the whole area was just over a hectare, and they threw that out straight away and said it was going to take 2 or 3 years to do a pre-consultation application or something.
They regarded it as a shed, didn't they? Shed application, remember?
Yeah, it was basically they wanted to charge us about £35,000 for the application fees. So we quickly pulled that out and basically just put in for the shop and the car park, or the cafe and the car park, which then became sort of a quarter of the size, and they allowed that through pretty sharpish, really. That went through quite quickly, and then we applied. We told them we were going to grow the first lot of strawberries in the ground, which we did, and then we applied for the polytunnels afterwards, that's the extra bit then that took so much time.
You get the impression the council has seen it as an asset to the area?
Sorry, Chris?
Are you getting the impression that the council now sees it as an asset for the area, for that, that part?
Well, no, once we finally got the planning permission, we haven't heard peep from them. We haven't, good or bad, just haven't heard anything from them. So I wouldn't know that from that point of view. It does add a bit of tourism to the area, so I suppose it does benefit that, but we haven't heard anything from the council, yay or nay, in that sense.
So the other question was, you made a big move from cattle. What was the main learning points? I mean, obviously you had to embrace the technology of growing soft fruit crops in hydroponics, which is quite a big jump from cattle. Yeah,
it was a learning curve. But yeah, you just ask a lot of questions, and the likes of you are there to help out. And it's quite a close-knit community, really, sort of soft fruit growers, especially to pick your own side of it. So everyone was there available to help you out. We learned the hard way along the way, really. But.
So when you went down the Gower, then you met up with a few sort of colleagues in the business and were able to talk to them a bit?
Yeah, I got friendly with Tom from down there, and he's helped us out quite a bit because he'd set up 2 years before us. So yeah, he's given us a lot of advice and help, really, and he's on the end of the phone if ever I haven't got an idea. I just give Tom a ring and he sort of points us in the right direction or lets us know what he's done, really. So we're growing the same sort of acreage and area, so so we're quite similar, really. And that's we're going to do raspberries this year, so he's helped us out with a bit of advice with regards to that as well, and how many go into and stuff.
I think that's a good thing if we can share information amongst each other, because we're not really competing, are we?
No.
There's a question that's come from Susan. Susan, would you like to ask your question direct to Rachel and Rob?
Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Susan.
Hiya. I just thought it's quite interesting that you've got a cafe on site, and I just wondered if whether that was in your original plan, or whether you thought it might supplement visitors, or to the pick your own, or whether people come in for the cafe. I just thought it's quite interesting that you did that.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely helped. People sort of want a morning or an afternoon out, and I think once you picked your fruit, which especially when we first opened, it only took people about 10-15 minutes to pick a pennant.
Tops.
Yeah, tops. But then they could have a cuppa and a cake, and the kids can run around a bit. So it's definitely helped. And there were a few people that would just turn up for the cafe towards the end of the season, because they said they loved the cake and the coffee. So yeah, definitely. I mean, it hasn't been easy running a
No.
cafe, because the first time we've ever employed anyone and gone through all the hygiene regs and things like that. But it should be easier this year. We know a bit more what we're doing, don't we? But yeah, I don't think it would be as popular like that personally.
Yeah, it adds to the experience, definitely.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's really interesting. Thanks very much. Yeah, because like you said, obviously being cattle, going cattle to soft fruits to hospitality is like
one thing these farms have found that opened a cafe, and I think it was brought up in quite a lot of detail on the Gower because they were sharing a lot of costs with us, was just the amount of takings they took from it. And it was sort of amounting to like a third of total sales on that site. So, you know, it's obviously a good thing. You can just do cakes and a bit of cakes. And you had a sort of posh restaurant thing as well, didn't you? Pop-up cafe.
Pumpkin time. We've got a friend of mine has got quite a sort of street food van, and he came along at pumpkin time then just to add a bit more food and hot food. So yeah, that worked really well. I think he was surprised how much money he took, but it only took a few little posts really on Facebook just to let people know that we had food there, and then sort of people were making a beeline for him as soon as they were coming then.
So all that helps, doesn't it, really?
Definitely.
Yeah.
You made the comment previously that you found that because of the tabletops display the fruit so well that people can pick what they want in 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's once they're on tabletops, they're just so they're just at sort of waist height, and they're just easy to see and hanging in the air. And at certain times when a first new batch of strawberries is coming on, they're just in abundance then. And you could pick a punnet of strawberries within under a minute, really. So it's quite difficult for people to come picking strawberries and literally get them within a minute. And then you need something. That's where the cafe helped, is to give them something more to do to create a little bit of time. And the kids, then we put some hay bales out and allowed the kids to jump up and down on the hay bales. And
we had the maze.
That's right. Yeah, we
had the maze.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't.
Yeah, we had a maze then, and we would charge basically per car when people would arrive. So it was £3 to come strawberry picking for the car, or then if they wanted to go around the maze, it was £8 then. So it was basically £5 a family to go walking around the maze. And that again gave people another half hour, an hour here and something else to do, and people loved it.
So really it's more about tourism and having a good day out rather than production to some extent.
Oh yeah, massively. That's I think people just want an afternoon or a morning out really. So it's just like you say. I think if it was just strawberries, it wouldn't be half as attractive as doing a few other things when they get here. So.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that people want to visit farms, and it's a lot of young people now as well, isn't it? One time, pick your own sort of clients were aging because they were sort of doing jam and processing, but nowadays I think people just want something to do and to get the kids out in the fresh air.
Yeah, kids, young families is probably mainly. I would have thought the people who are coming, and they
we had groups of younger people coming now, didn't we? They like taking the photos, putting them on social media. But that's fine by us.
So it's gone well, really. From what you're saying, and you're doing a bit more this year. You're doing raspberries this year.
Yeah, we got 2 tunnels worth of raspberries, just because a lot of people were coming and saying, "Are you going to be growing anything else?" So, that's hopefully going to add a bit more attraction and something different for this year. But definitely going well. It gives you a bit of confidence. I didn't have any confidence in the future of just doing cattle. I honestly, when you sat down and did the maths, it was like, we're never going to pay these mortgages off by just doing cattle, and you only got to have a neighbour go down with TB, and the whole lot's going to go. But with this, there's a bolstering up the income. You know that there's a future there, and it gives you a bit of confidence, really. So.
Yeah. Do you find it useful that you got all the family involved in it now as part of it? Or even the kids were helping with the pumpkins, weren't they?
Yeah, little lad, he's the main wheelbarrow runner for people, and running the barrows back to the cafe. But it's just nice family atmosphere, really, and like I say, getting everyone involved. It's such a labour intensive job. I've been gone, like you say, gone from farming, doing it on my own and sitting in a tractor most of my life and doing everything single-handedly, to having literally no machinery to do it. And it's sort of back to old school farming where it's all sort of hands-on and just labor intensive. And that's probably the one thing that we overlooked, was the amount of labor and what we were going to need to spend on labor, and how much you just can't physically do all of it yourself. So you've got to get help.
We have had a question in about that, and it says, if you need to get staff in to help, does this bring any additional challenges?
I'll let Rach and Kath sort that one out. They were the geniuses on them.
I don't know about that. I don't know where to start with that, really. I mean, hiring was a bit of a nightmare, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Go on.
I think because it's seasonal,
Yeah.
it's quite tricky to get dedicated staff, because you are then looking at the school, sixth formers, and maybe they're not so keen to work. So that's where family maybe backed up a bit.
Oh, definitely. More reliable.
Much more reliable. But yeah, it was tricky. You did summer season.
Yeah, and just sorting out rotas and making sure people turned up, and we had the added pressure of COVID as well, that people came down with it and had self-isolate. And there's other things as well, like payroll, which is fun, and pension schemes and handbooks, which we're still trying to sort out, aren't we? But it's
employee handbook,
uniform.
It's just a massive learning curve, isn't it?
It was daunting last year, but I think we've had a year under our belts now, haven't we? And we know a bit more what we're doing, and it's the same with anything new, isn't it? You just learn as you go along, really.
And what about social media? Obviously all the farmers promoted on social media, and that's how you got access to your customers. Presumably between you've become very expert at it.
I don't know about that, but we rely, I'd say about 99% of people that come here because of social media. We had a couple that drove past and called in, but we rely heavily on social media, especially with the ticketing. And you're quite media, you were more media savvy than I was, Kat. We were. Definitely, but
just being a bit younger than you.
A little bit younger than me.
There's a question around that, actually, on how important has it been to your success to sell the story of the farm, and like how have you managed to do that? I'm assuming through social media.
You've got a bit about it on the website that your family run. You promoted it that way a little bit, haven't you?
I think people like to know where we've come from and why we're doing it, don't they? And we're lucky that obviously we've got 2 children in primary school, so a lot of the parents have been interested, and they've supported us. We've been lucky in that respect, haven't we, that a lot of the parents come. But I think when people see our parents working, and that's my sister, that's my sister-in-law, that's my cousin. People do like that.
I just feel a family vibe.
There's a question from Liz saying, because of COVID, do you take bookings? I think most farms have found that bookings came in with COVID, but now they're more or less mandatory.
We've got a booking system with just following up my head. Digi-tickets, that's it. So we had to set that up for Halloween 2020, and that was there's a lot more to it than we thought, and we paid quite a bit for the system, but now the system is ours, if that makes sense. So we control it, and we can put up what we want, what tickets we want, and actually a lot of people have commented how easy it is to use. So although I think at the start we were reluctant to spend a lot on the system, I think we're quite glad we have now, because it's ours to do what we want to do with. So, and it's great because we know how many people are coming, how many staff we need to have on. If we're low on strawberries one day, we just don't put as many tickets up. So we're managing people's expectations a bit better, really, aren't we?
That was just to manage the car park in pumpkin time when it's manic. You just put as many tickets as the car park can cope with, really. I think we could have been busier this year with pumpkins, but we kept it sensible, because we don't want to snarl up the A48 right by us, and we don't want to block our car park. So we sort of allows us to manage how many people are coming to us, really, within reason.
Yeah, it's a good point, because in the days before we cottoned on to pre-booking and controlling numbers, then farms were quite often getting overwhelmed. And it's even now there's some farms that have developed busy cafes that run sort of more or less all year round. They find it's quite inconvenient to suddenly have like thousands of pumpkin people heading for the cafe. So they've tended to move their pumpkins away from, you know, the infrastructure on the farm, just to try and control the numbers, really.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know, this is a good plan for some Welsh growers. How do you fancy that, you know, farms can take this up? Is it just sort of seeing people with you with some success, or do you think you've got some sort of special flair?
We haven't got special flair.
Yeah, prepared to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
and yeah, just,
Well, I mean, all farmers work hard, don't they? Pretty much.
yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot more involved than we went into it a bit blind and a bit naive, to be honest with you, and just thought, oh, that would be a nice thing to do, and hopefully add a bit of money to the pot. But it soon became like how much there was a lot more work in it than we were not planning on doing. We're prepared to do the work, but it's it was just I
think we're lucky with our location as well, though, aren't we? That the location definitely helps. Because we're between quite a few big like towns, aren't we? Really?
Yeah, we've got Cardiff on the doorstep one way, Bridgend the other way. So yeah, it's definitely room there, but I'd say you've just got to have the location is a massive part of it, I would have said. And I know a few people have set things up, and they're down narrow lanes, and that sort of, it's gone better than they ever thought in terms of numbers. But then within 5 minutes flat, they're annoying the locals and neighbours and stuff like that, because they're snarling up lanes. And I think there's room for it. People want to get out. I think these days, young families, they all work. Well, like when I was a kid, my mum didn't work, but like most people nowadays have to work, both parents. So when they come a weekend, they want to get out and do things. So with the kids. So I think there's room for stuff. Yeah. It's just, a lot of it does come down to location, really. And
especially because of COVID, people wanted to do things outside, didn't they? So it was perfect for that, really. As long as it wasn't.
You came on a Tyfu Cymru trip to Kenyon Hall, a big farm that does a big cafe, and they got a garden centre there now, and you know, picking strawberries for a long time, very much the same as you. And do you see yourself developing that way? Is a sort of year-round destination?
Personally, I don't want to. It can get to a point where I think you take on to guarantee yourself staff. And good staff, you feel the need to take them on like more longer term. So then you like might go down the route of opening a cafe or a farm shop or something. And then I don't know, you could just get on a bit of a treadmill there where to keep your staff, you're taking on a lot more work, where I think we're quite happy with. It is busy in the summer with strawberries. Like I say, we've only done 1 year, so we're just gauging it on last year, but we've done 2 years of pumpkins. And there's a lot of work and effort and planning goes into it. And it's quite nice now that we haven't got people around here and customers and stuff constantly coming around. We do, it's our home at the end of the day. So it's nice to be able to close the doors now and not have that. But again, if you're in a different situation and location, it might suit you. But with us, it's nice to not to be open all the time, really. So I don't want to chase that side of it.
No,
and go
especially like kids again. No.
I got the impression there they were very busy, but they needed to be very busy to pay the wages of 30 plus odd staff that they got on.
Yeah, I think cafes are quite a big drain on staff. You know, you have to have a lot of staff to run a good cafe. You know, 24/7.
Yeah.
There's a question. Where do you source your plants from? And this is quite a key to the whole success, or the possible success of the whole venture, really, isn't it?
Yeah, a contact that you gave us, Nick Darby. We get our plants from him. They come from Holland. And again, I think we just got a bit lucky with the type. There was a new variety called Imilexia that we put in, and the volume of fruit that it gave sort of far exceeded what we sort of planned, really.
Yeah.
So it was nice in that sense to be having more strawberries than we were sort of budgeting for. And it allowed for a few mistakes that we made to be masked over. But yeah, the plants are a massive part of it. It's like everything, isn't it? If you've got good stock, you'll always sell it in terms of cattle and animals, and it's the same thing with the strawberries, really. If you've got nice strawberries, people will buy them. So
yeah, and you've got to get good healthy stock, and it's got to be the right stuff for your type of system, because you're buying your yield in your plants, aren't you?
Yeah. Those strawberries are all designed. They're ready to grow from the minute you plant the plant. So all the hard work is done. We just got to buy them, really. So it's the hard work is growing them in the first place.
So it's not just a case of looking on the internet and getting the plants from the first propagator you see. You've got to know a bit about them, and if you get time, it's good to go and look at your plants, because then you can see how they're growing. But if you go through a good agent, they can also do all the plant health certification stuff for you, which some farmers find quite difficult. Right, Sarah, I think we've come a long way now, haven't we?
Lovely. Yeah. If we can hand over to Llew to sort of tell us a little bit behind his diversification project, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Well, Lew's a farmer from up in Myford in North Wales, well, sort of mid Wales, I suppose, and he started doing farm tourism this year, although he's been doing a veg box. But you can do your own introduction, can't you, Llew?
Yeah, so I'm Llew. We sort of started off our horticulture sort of veg journey about 2 years ago. The photo you've just seen there, that's our first sort of potato planting field. It's just in the very corner. So this top corner here, probably 30 meters by 30 meters. The lad on the right, he's a potato merchant. He wanted just to plant a few potatoes. So we went ahead, grew them. And that year they grew really well, and we had to sort of sell them. So instead of bagging everything up, we decided to go down a veg box route. And in came, I think this was the first lockdown, started selling everything via veg boxes, and everyone went mad for veg boxes. So yeah, we're chuffed. This sort of led into a milk vending machine. So our farm is predominantly a dairy farm. So we started pasteurizing milk on the farm as well. So this all sort of tied into the delivery schemes. And I think at that point, probably about a year in, Sarah contacted us and recommended that we join Tyfu Cymru. So that's effectively when we sort of started looking at putting the pumpkins in. And our idea was probably going to be more wholesale to start with, just based on, so our sort of location is, we're right next to the road, but we don't have a massive sort of population sort of in the near sort of vicinity. But with lockdown being the way it was, we thought we'd go for the pick your own, and aided by sort of Chris and Sarah. We opened for the first time last year. And yeah, we're blown away really. We planted 3 acres of pumpkins, and it grew really well. And they're, considering how little input it came from us, so we drilled them with a maize drill. So our contractors come and drill our maize anyway. At the end, when they finish doing the maize, they come and drill the 3 acres of pumpkins. And we let them do their thing. And all of a sudden we had about 10 to 15,000 pumpkins in the field. So yeah, but selling them was probably the hardest part then. I think looking back, we should have sort of lined up a wholesaler earlier on. So we got to a stage probably about 2 or 3 weeks into the pick your own, we're never going to sell anywhere near enough. But we're also at the stage where we're selling enough to get our money back, to get our return. So the main learning curve for us effectively is we haven't quite got the population to sell as much pick your own, but pick your own has a good return of investment for us. So it's worth opening up the pick your own, but try and either grow less or sell more wholesale. Anything else? I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I mean, you put in 3 acres, which is, like you say, on your site was quite a brave decision. But I think when you're doing pumpkins, you do need to have a field with plenty in it. So it is a bit of a spectacle for people to come to. Like in previous years, we've had people that sold out, and by the last week in October, they've just got like 3 or 4 pumpkins in a field of mud, and that's not really what you want. So I think you've got to budget on some spare. Wholesaling, it's possible, especially if you can wholesale to other growers. I mean, 2021 was a bit of an odd season. That everybody seemed to have a good crop, but the year before, like Rob says, that nobody had got any, and they'd all sold out with 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, it felt like on the group chat that a lot of people were in like the same boat, expecting the wholesale market to come in or have people to sell to in the last couple of weeks, and just wasn't there. So that's probably the one thing to live for us. But
I think it's just to do with having a really good spectacle for the punters to come to, and then they enjoy it and have a better day, rather than trying to grow exactly the right number that you think people will take off you. And then you'll probably find you get a lot more interest next year anyway, or this year rather.
Did you stick to orange too, or did you go for any other varieties?
There's a few whites in the picture.
Yeah, we had, there's 6 varieties. I think we'll go for more next year. So sorry, I should have led on. Next year, our plan is to probably do 2 acres, but we'll have a maize as well, because effectively the biggest benefit to us with the pumpkins was the sort of upselling of the milk. So the vending machine that we've got on farm, we sort of sold at least another 30% worth of milk sort of within that month. And the only thing we could attribute to that was the pumpkins. I think it was the joint sort of effort of people coming here to the farm to pick the pumpkins, but also all this sort of the social media and it being sort of the talking point, I think. So just getting the name out there for the pumpkins and it being a big month for the pumpkins also had like the secondary sort of impact of them knowing more about the milk or thinking more milkshakes.
I think Rob and Rachel was sort of disappointed in the amount of money they were making from the beef, but I gather that your dairy was doing quite well as a standalone.
So my brother and I came back to the farm probably 4 or 5 years ago. And at that sort of point, it was a decision whether we stop the dairy or sort of continue. And I suppose that was Brexit on the loom. So we actually decided that we've got the acres and we've got the opportunity on the farm to sort of like expand. But then this was going to be if Brexit sort of puts us in front of the bus, we've got a sort of plan B. And things are pretty tight with the dairy as is. So diversification is definitely spreading the risk for us.
And what about the retail milk? That goes pretty well.
So we've got an Arla contract, luckily enough. So yeah, that's okay at the moment. It is stable, but the sort of difficulty is the input costs. So fertilizers through the roof, fuel, labor's going up all the time. So it's just something to be mindful of, really. The price that we're getting off the milk is very good, but yeah, there's a lot of volatility in the industry.
Is there? So it's still a bit of a worry then.
Definitely, yeah.
So you were running a box scheme at one time and making cheese and that sort of thing. So value added and a bit more extended marketing. Did you have a milk round and sell the veggies part of that?
Yes, yeah, exactly that. So it started off with a veg scheme, and then once we passed all the food hygiene certification, we could sell the milk as part of that veg box round. So one sort of promoted the other in a way. And the cheese we've only certified to sell from the farm so far, but that's something we're sort of working on this year. So next next year we'd like, well, this year, sorry, with the pumpkins, we'd like to do like taster sessions for the cheese, and hopefully have it all sort of approved by then. So hopefully we can sort of get that side of the business out there a bit more to the public.
Do you all sort of mucking together, or are you taking a bit of lead on the horticulture?
Probably me taking a lead, but it's nice in a way that it brings the whole sort of family together to run it on the day-to-day. So on those weekends we'd have my mum, my dad's, my cousins, my brother, yeah, just everyone who's about or willing, friends, family. Yeah, everyone.
So that got you through some of the labour peaks involved in pumpkins, etc.
Definitely, yeah. Well, interestingly enough, we managed. It was a good sort of recruitment agent as well. So we had 2 people sort of asked to come and work on the farm just off the back of coming here off the pumpkins.
Wow.
So is people just taking an interest from there or seeing what's going on the farm. 2 lads who'd never worked on a farm before either. So yeah, it's quite nice to see.
Yeah. Any good, were they?
Yeah, well, they're still here. Yeah.
Still here. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
There's a couple of questions from Liz. Yeah, Liz, would you like to ask your question?
I'm unmuted now. Yeah, do you grow all your veg for the box team, or do you buy it in?
No, we bought it. We only grew potatoes in the first year, and the rest we just bought in at wholesale. About 20 miles down the road, wholesaler bought it all in. We set up a room next to our sort of our dairy processing room on the farm, and we just we split it all into boxes and delivered from there.
Right, and where did you get? Do you have a set price, so you have a £10 box, a £15 box, or do people just order and then you put it in the box?
We did both. So we had the set boxes that have, I think there was 2 size set boxes, 3 at one point, but we thought that was just too much again because we were only having people order the medium box every time. And then we also went down the route of setting up a website where you could order everything individually, sort of yourself for your box. Yeah, well, we've stopped doing the boxes just for the time being, but so that website's sort of on hold. But yeah, an interesting experience setting up a website.
Yeah. Did you set the website up yourself then?
Yeah, I used a software called Shopify. Yeah, it's actually really good, as in sort of user friendly. So if that's a route you want to go down, I'd definitely use Shopify. You just add in that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think there's help from Tubby, isn't there, for setting up websites and social media and promotion of crops and stuff.
Yes, we can certainly help support. We have a digital marketing sort of offer. I know that Rob and Rachel and Kath have had some support with them, sort of their website and social media. Don't know if you want to come in there, Kath.
Yeah, it's been really useful actually. Working with Eddie, he's helped a lot. We've had some support. We want to do a newsletter. There's definitely loads of support there if you want to speak to Sarah about it. We've benefited from it. Yeah.
There's a question from Jane as well, Chris.
Is there? Sorry, I missed that one. Get me chat going. Jane. Yes, well, I think you did mention it, Rob, but pumpkins, you need loads of different sorts. You need every sort of pumpkin there is, really. But you perhaps comment on that, Rob and Kath?
Yeah, first year I think we grew probably 5-6 different varieties, and then last year we sort of went nuts, really. Grew about 20, I think. But yeah, like you just said, Chris, it doesn't matter what it is, just more the merrier. Anything weird and wonderful. The bulk of them are obviously orange, so I would say probably 70% are orange pumpkins of varying sizes. And then, yeah, the rest is just squashes and odds and sods and whites and blues and I think
Wow.
black ones you've ordered this year, and you
Yeah,
Black.
people just buy them for
Wow.
the displays. Yeah, we've got some
Yeah.
black ones and some. Well, there
I've
was
really seen
one called
black
hot
ones.
chocolate we found, brown
Oh, right.
pumpkin, which looks a bit gone off, but
yeah, and I don't think it
Yes.
matters. Everyone's got different choices, and it's just given, like you said earlier, it's a bit of a spectacle more than anything. And like we grew 27 acres of pumpkins in total, but I would imagine it was, well, as a 17-acre field got used quite well. There was still some left in it, but there was 10 acres. We sold a bit of wholesale out of it, but 10 acres wasn't really utilised at all. But it was a massive draw because that 10 acres stood out on the horizon when people drove past and sort of drew people's attention to it more than anything. So yeah, just grow anything and everything could be my only advice with regards to pumpkins.
Yeah, right. Did you have a question about surplus produce?
Yes, it's just in terms of wastage, really. Around, you know, if you have surplus, then strawberries or fruit or veg, well, how do you deal with it, and what avenues do you go to actually sell it on?
Strawberries are a difficult one because last year was a learning curve with us, really. But yeah, we had a fair bit of wastage on the first lot, but it's because they were grown on the floor. So they were in contact with the ground, and the weather was dry. It was lovely. And then as soon as you have a bit of rain and a bit of splash goes on them, they were rotting quite quickly. And then the middle planting of strawberries that we did, we picked them really well, to be honest with you, and they went great. And we probably only had sort of, well, I don't know, between 5 and 10% wastage on them. And then the last lot is the weather that caught us out. We had that really hot spell for sort of 10 days-ish, and that brought the fruit forward and made it ripen quicker. So at one stage, we had the 3 plantings that we did. We had all 3 picking at one stage. So basically, we just couldn't get enough people in to be able to pick the volume of fruit. Yeah, it was labour. We just didn't have enough hands on deck to serve customers and go around picking excess fruit. And then the last lot, we had a lot of waste because there was a lot of fruit there unpicked, and then that would rot, and then it would rot the fruit that it was touching. So that's our one aim this year, really, is just to become more efficient and try and we're planting less strawberries per planting. We did it in 3 batches last year of like 13,000 plants per batch, but we're going to knock that down to about 10,000 plants, and hopefully we'll be a bit busier this year. Due to a lot of people coming for pumpkins that didn't realise we were doing strawberries. So the one bats off the other, really. So hopefully we'll be busier with less strawberries available in each section. And if we can just pick better, that's our aim, basically, is to become more efficient rather than we could grow more fruit, but I'd far rather utilise the stuff that we're growing better, really. And pumpkins is a difficult one. Any wastage with pumpkins as of the 1st of November, unless it's sort of edible, it was nigh on worthless. A few people offering to pick it just to feed to pigs and stuff like that. But the quantities that we had, we would never. It's the labour again to pick them. If I could feed them to cows, it'd be great. But you'd have to leave. You could pick about 1,000 pumpkins with 10 people. You could pick about 1,000 pumpkins in an hour. But it's just not cost worthy to pay the labour to pick them, just to feed them to the animals, really. So we just left them in the field to act as fertilizer ready for this year, is our plan.
I think the other thing that comes into it is that the wholesale price of soft fruit is very, very low compared to what you can do on pick your own. So I mean, I don't know what you're on a kilo, but the wholesale price mid-season somewhere around about £3 a kilo if you're lucky.
Yeah, we would, well, $6.99 a kilo is what we were charging. I don't know, I got to be honest, looking at the labour cost involved, I don't know how supermarkets or suppliers to the supermarkets make any money. I think supermarkets invest heavily into the big farms, and that's the way that they can guarantee their supply of fruit at whatever they're prepared to pay for it, because the supermarkets pay towards the huge cost of the infrastructure. But our break-even cost would be about $4.50, I would have thought.
Yeah,
Right,
Well,
so,
I think the break-even cost is above £3, and a lot of them are only on £3, and even on big farms. But it's just interesting the difference between what you can charge and what they charge for them in a supermarket. But people are coming there not for cheap fruit; they're coming there to get this day out. So you know, you just got to keep your prices up high. Otherwise, there's no point to it. There's no point trying to compete with people by dropping the price. You know, you just got to have a really good setup, everything presented well, and people have a good day out. I think they're quite happy to pay.
yeah, I agree with that.
And Llew, how have you found going from, you know, being just a dairy farm to diversifying into a bit of a sort of a hort tourism venture? You know, different challenges that come with that, like managing public and things like that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a contrast, really, isn't it? So, but I don't know, we enjoy it. So we've I suppose we've always had cottages on the farm, so we've always had an element of the public sort of on the farm. So sort of keeping the place tidy, showing them what the farm's about, what happens there, where the cows are milked. And this was just that sort of on steroids a little bit. But I think engaging with the public going forward is definitely a positive thing, and getting people out to farm, and if they can see something that takes their interest. So the 2 apprentices that we've had, something that's taken them interest to them, just coming out to a farm and seeing things, wanting to know more about it. I think that can only be positive for our industry, I suppose. But like I said, everyone here is half used to it, but yeah, no, it's enjoyable, and it's sort of bringing the whole family together, everyone working together is quite nice, considering usually it's quite an independent sort of lonely job, sort of early morning, sort of late evening. So yeah, no, it's been good. I definitely recommend it.
Llew, did you do a ticketing system to manage the footfall, or what did you do?
We did everything via was it Book When? Yeah, everything was ticketed. So we had a few people who turned up without tickets, but for us, we weren't selling out all our tickets, so that was fine for us. But we did, based on the sort of the COVID rules and your risk assessment that you have to put in, we did everything ticketed.
Where do you see yourself going in the future then, Llew? You see it sort of developing the horticulture side and doing a few more attractions? You know, people do sunflowers and selfie fields, as we call them nowadays.
Yeah, we will. For us, it'll sort of extend the period to have people sort of with more of a reason than just getting their milk or cheese from the farm. So if we put a maize into the sunflowers, roughly when will be the earliest point do you reckon we could get them on farm then? When do the sunflowers sort of come out?
When they start picking, well, if you sowed in April, they'd be ready mid-July, I would think, given a decent summer.
Give us an extra probably 2 months where people sort of half a reason to take their kids out to the sunflowers, pick up some milk. So we've got a couple of donkeys, we've got 3 little pigs that went down really well for everyone sort of coming onto the farm. And I think this year we'd like to sort of offer people to have a look more on the dairy side, go and look at the calves, go and look at the sort of the cows, look at the parlour, just if they do want to have that another level of sort of understanding as to sort of what happens there. So I think, yeah, definitely go forward with the maize, and then sunflowers. I'll have to have that conversation with you, Chris, and just understand how we plant them and when we plant them, and
I think one thing that farmers I work with takes some getting used to is the fact that people aren't necessarily into production, so they'll come out and pay to go in a field of sunflowers, but they won't necessarily pick any. They just want to be in there, and I mean, we had one big sunflower field, and people were in there most days doing their own little videos, all sort of dressed up in posh frocks and that. So that was something we never even expected, and once somebody posted a video on the farm website, then, or the farm Facebook, then everybody else wanted to go and do one. So that was quite a positive thing, and I think you have to try and get it through your head that it's not just about production. You know, you can sell a farm without having any food or anything. You know, it's just like you say, take people to see the calves and the educational part of it, because you know that's what people want to see how a farm works, and you know they can buy the retail milk and shakes and all that sort of stuff. It's really developing a strong business.
We're nearly at time now. Should we open it up? Are there any questions that anyone would like to put to either Chris or Rob and Kath or Llew?
I'll just say that if anybody's thinking about this, definitely get in touch with Tubby and just ask what is available, because you know, there's all this digital marketing, but there's loads of other stuff. So you know, you just need to have a conversation and find out what is available for you.
Yeah, the one thing I'm sort of interested in is Chris, what do you think will happen in terms of with MVZs coming in and sort of farms destocking? Do you reckon there'll be a lot more sort of horticulture coming into Wales, a lot more trees, or which way do you see it going? Because it's one of the main drivers for us to sort of dip our toe in the water of horticulture, is because we won't be able to. Our initial plan for the farm was to increase our stocking rates to an extent where we could get sort of the economy of scale. But if there's a ceiling on that and the ceiling's brought down with MVZs, at least there's maybe another opportunity with horticulture. What would you say?
Well, I think you've more or less touched on it, really. I think people are interested in coming out to farms, and it's just a case of growing novel crops, really. So you can have your lavender fields or your tulip fields, daffodils, whatever, and you can just have something for a very long period, and that gets the best out of your infrastructure with your car parks and pop-up shops and that. So yeah, I do see an increase, especially with the uncertainty in farming at the moment and the poor prices that people seem to be getting. I don't really understand dairy and that, but you know, I hear a lot of people not very happy with it, and obviously you've got to do something while you've still got some money to invest. But yeah, I think there will be more, and I think people are interested in vegetables, and especially if you grow your own and you have a field that's presented well with vegetables in it, and then people because they're there, and like Rob says, they get the fruit in no time. They will take some vegetables, although they have a sort of, you know, they either go out with the idea of spending a 10 or 20 quid or something, but you just got to try and make sure you get all of that money off them. So, you know, I'm a bit uncertain about production. You know, we get like people wanting to grow asparagus, and then you find that, you know, the wholesale price of asparagus is caved in because there's so much grown now. And asparagus, you know, a field of asparagus is nothing to look at. So, you know, you're not going to get gangs of people coming in looking. It just looks like a bare field with a few shoots in it. Any more? Well, you got the chance. Liz has asked what the setup costs are. Depends what you're after, Liz, really, whether you're after strawberries or pumpkins, whatever. Pumpkins are about, I don't know, what are they? So they're about £2 an acre to get going, covering a bit of hoeing and that.
What are ours? I can't remember our total cost, but was it £1,200 we spent on the seed?
1,200 on seed, and then a bit of hoeing, and
probably under
herbicide.
2k to get everything in. Yeah, well under 2k.
Yeah. So that's you know, pumpkins. I don't know if you're doing tunnel strawberries, then, and you've got to buy new tunnels. The price of steel and tabletops and even plants has sort of gone through the roof. A lot of plants come in from abroad, and you know, in the EC, largely Holland, and you know, the prices have gone up. But you know, the figures do add up if you can pick your own, and you can get the sort of figures that Rob mentioned. You know, £6.99 a kilo for strawberries, and people have been getting 12 quid a kilo for raspberries. wholesale price of raspberries is about £5 a kilo, and you know you're not going to get very fat on that because they're dear to pick. So yeah, I do see it increasing, and you know, you can either put a lot of investment in and get the farm up and running, or just do it on an evolution thing where you just add a couple of tunnels every year until you got enough that you can manage and you don't want to get any bigger. Like I see all sorts, you know, but it's a lot of money to put up a big farm. I mean, Gower built a hectare in 1 year, and they built it in March, and they were picking it by June. But it's quite a courageous investment.
Anyone else have any questions? No, you're all quiet. There are lots of different ways that Tyfu can help support, and there are sort of loads of resources on the Knowledge Hub covering some of the questions that you have asked, so have a look on there. Shortly there'll be a link to a Survey Monkey, which I ask if you could complete. It just helps us with future delivery. May I thank Rob, Rachel and Kath and Llewellyn for joining us, and Chris for facilitating such a great session, and thank you all for attending.
Good session. Thanks for everybody for your contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks
Cheers.
a lot.
Thank you.